Every organization wants to be AI first, but the truth is the humans need to be ready for that. So that's where our next speaker, Olya Taran, comes in. She is AVP of AI Adoption, Talent and Culture at Manulife, where she's building something most orgs haven't even thought about, and that is the infrastructure for buy-in. That means internal AI champions, real use cases, and a rollout strategy that is intended to meet people where they are, with all their skepticism, lack of time, the humanness of it all, right? So, Olya and I are going to talk about what it takes to move from passive interest to active adoption and why cultural readiness is just as hard as technical integration, like what we've just been saying. So, Olya, let's get into it. Welcome.
Thank you, Maxwell, so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
We're thrilled to have you. I'm going to dive right in. So, talk to me about Manulife's journey of AI adoption. It's a 40,000 person company, multiple continents, multiple cities. Where and when did Manulife start on this journey of AI adoption, and where are you now? How long has it been?
Great question. Our journey actually started about a decade ago. Most people think AI journey started a couple of years ago with the ChatGPT becoming popular. But at Manulife, we actually started a while, and we were building traditional AI models as well as laying out the foundation, technological foundation, the governance, and also responsible use of AI principles, which I believe helped us accelerate when generative AI came into play. And what changed with generative AI was accessibility. So AI became more of a accessible AI for people that were not data scientists. You don't need to code, you don't need to know algorithms, you don't need to be close to technology. It really made it personal and created a whole new wave of opportunity for us. So while we have been developing traditional AI use cases for a while, over the last 2 years, we've rolled out generative AI to 100% of our colleagues, and over 50% of our colleagues are actively using generative AI in their daily work, which we're very excited about. So we moved from experimentation into deepening that adoption and embedding AI into how people work and lead.
That's incredible. I didn't realize the rollout was at 100%, adoption at 50. Those are really impressive numbers. So, what was that winning framework that earned you that really high adoption?
Love that question because we didn't guess our way through it. There was a structured framework that was grounded in real behavior, human behavior, as well as our winning culture and readiness. So those were all the components that we considered. And it wasn't just one thing. It was a combination of leadership, upskilling, enablement, and also storytelling. So we knew that to drive meaningful adoption, we needed a clear and structured approach. And I'll cover 4 pillars that we anchored this approach on. The first one is we led from the top. So while fully agreeing with Dawn's comment earlier in the session that it's the middle level leaders and also your frontline employees that are very much impacted by it and need to be engaged, we also recognize that support from the top and the tone from the top is super important. So we didn't just brief our executive leaders on AI, we actually put the tools in their hands. We went into existing leadership forums and sessions that were already planned out throughout the year and ran live hands-on demos where we gave executives challenges to solve with the AI tools. And those were challenges that are relevant to them in their daily work, right there, real time with AI. And once they saw the power of AI, the light bulbs went off and they became advocates, which is what we were looking for. So they started challenging their teams to give it a try. And also what was really exciting to see is that the next level down leadership now wanted on this action. So they started requesting this experience of a live demo, hands-on. So we decided to go ahead and scale it. So we scaled it and called it a promptathon, made it available to all colleagues who want to participate. It's a hands-on, team-based AI challenge. It became one of the most popular learning experiences at Manulife, which takes me to the second pillar, which is upskilling and enablement. So we first of all recognized prompting as an emerging business skill. It's not a technology skill anymore with the generative AI. And in the promptathons, that's exactly what we do is we teach people how to prompt well, because your prompt determines the quality of the output that you get from these tools. And then as a second step, we also helped participants to integrate AI tools into their daily workflow. So it takes it from theory into practice really, really fast. And then the third pillar of our adoption framework was creating awareness about AI, how to use it responsibly, because employees usually want to do the right thing and they want to do it well. So making sure they feel comfortable that they're using it responsibly and ethically is very important to them. And also we elevated the use cases through storytelling. So we kind of spread the stories and information so that people felt like it's becoming something that's on their mind. They hear about it every day and it's talked about. So it's important. And then the fourth and the last pillar that I'll cover is we institutionalized adoption ownership. So we made adoption somebody's job with clear accountability, because when it's everybody's job, it's sort of no one's job. So that was also a critical success criteria for us. And I will add one more kind of thing that helped us unlock adoption is peer-to-peer learning, as well as AI communities, because when somebody is observing somebody in a similar role using AI and it helping them, in reality, that's where the aha moments happen, and that when momentum really took off for us.
I love this framework. We really should have put it on a slide. Maybe we'll put it in our takeaways for sure. Let me explore some of the questions that came to mind. First and foremost, you said executives, you said promptathons. My immediate reaction, these people have no room on their calendar. Maybe in 2027. So how did you nail that piece? How did you get on the calendars for these execs?
Yeah, so we actually went where they were. So usually there are executive cadence calendars and certain sessions already planned. Some teams have meet weeks where they work for 3 weeks out of the month, and then 1 week is where they meet. So depending on how the organization manages those executive cadences. But in our organization, we would join those, get on the agendas, join the places where they already are, and really quickly do these demos that are hands-on. So we didn't ask for more time. We kind of brought it to where they already were in the time that they already had. And also, we didn't over-engineer this experience. It was no decks, no presentations, just open your laptop. There is very light instruction and a scenario that's relevant to them, and then they just play. And I think that moment of direct experience is what makes it truly, truly transformational.
Well, and would you say that it's also as important to have it not work first? Was that part of the promptathons? Have it fail and then have the aha moment come out?
Yeah, and that comes from how people learn, right? We don't like to learn by somebody telling us, but how we experience and stumble through it and kind of understand, and those light bulb moments happen. So the way that we structured the promptathon initially was people open a Gen AI tool and they have a challenge to solve that we prepare for them that's relevant to their work. And then we tell them, well, just go at it, enter a prompt and see what happens. And they enter a prompt and they get the output and they're like, it's okay, don't love it, have to do a lot of work on it. The output is not quite ready to be used. And that's where we say, it's because you didn't prompt really well. So maybe let's work on the quality of the prompt. And then we introduced a framework that's consistently used across Manulife. And this framework is kind of like a best standard framework for us, but there are multiple frameworks out there like it, right? Like it's not a silver bullet. Any framework works as long as it's structured. And the framework contains all the components of a good prompt, like what kind of action do you want the tool to do? What kind of role do you want it to take on? How do you want the output to look? Some context. So once people realize that that framework actually is what makes a successful prompt, and then they redo their prompt and see the output looks very differently. And I think that's what really created the the awareness of how important good prompting is, and also that, it's kind of a garbage in, garbage out situation, right? So like with a good prompt, you get a good output.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I think the chat will say the same thing. My next question is then, okay, you have a dozen or two very excited execs that just had a 25-minute promptathon, and now what? What's next? How do you scale this across the organization?
Great question. So once the executives have experienced the promptathon, they told their leadership teams about it. At the same time, there is awareness being created about our AI strategy and our plans for the next 3 years. So it makes it relevant to leaders. And then the leadership teams level down started requesting these promptathons for their teams. At the same time, we also made it accessible to all colleagues. So the promptathon is something that is a facilitated session available to enroll openly to anybody in the organization. It's available in all the languages that Manulife speaks in all the countries, with facilitators upskilled across all geographies. So as people sign up for these promptathons, they are kind of in a mixed group of people that may not be necessarily doing similar work. So we also recognize that some groups, like for example, we had product owners, project managers, actuaries, legal professionals, they want to do it as a group to also use the opportunity to figure out how might we embed this more into our day-to-day. So we also started developing these custom promptathon sessions specific to those groups, and they could be anywhere from 25 people to hundreds of people, like mega sessions, but those sessions were tailored to the work that the group is doing. So it was a really good way to kind of customize, but also keep it open enough so it's accessible to everybody.
That's perfect. You mentioned on our prep call that there are wait lists for these sessions. So somehow you cracked the hype code around around this approach. So congrats on that one. My next question will be the total opposite of that. What didn't work? What team buy-in tricks are just hype, in your opinion?
Let's talk about what didn't land well. Some things looked really good in presentations and on paper, but in reality, just kind of fell flat. So two things stand out. One was generic road shows. That's kind of where we started. And it was really obvious that without a clear, so what, now what, what's in it for me, everything that was shared in the road shows remained kind of abstract. So
Could
people
you
were feeling,
define the roadshow for us, actually? What does that mean?
yeah. Like for example, there is a town hall and a leader is making a presentation about what AI is and what our plans with AI are and why it's so exciting. And, it's just very kind of disconnected from the day to day for a lot of people. And it does stay abstract. It does stay kind of disconnected. So you really need that aha moment when it clicks. And the way to achieve that is to translate that to the reality of the colleagues so that they can visualize. And that moment when it happens, you can tell, because it's almost like they're now starting to go through a whole list of ideas. I can use it here. I can do this with it. This is an idea that I have. So when that happens, goal achieved. So making sure those roadshows were done in a way that connected to the day-to-day of the employees that we were talking to. And then the second one, prompt libraries. Do you remember when prompt libraries a couple of years ago became super popular and everybody wanted one? Yep. So we built one as well. And it's not like it's a failed tactic, but in a way. What we learned was that the prompting libraries are great as a launch pad to get people started, because when somebody accesses a prompt library, they can see how people in similar roles are using AI, what kind of prompts. They can borrow a prompt if they don't know how to write a well-structured prompt just yet. They can borrow it from there and use it. But over time, what we've observed is that as people get more comfortable with prompting and just idea of using AI in their work, they don't want to leave their workflow. So if you're working in some tools, people don't want to leave those tools to go find a prompt. And also with the newer prompt assist features that a lot of the tools are evolving and developing, it's also became less relevant. So we still have our prompt library and we use it, but for a very limited purpose, kind of like as a starting point for exploration rather than a tool for building maturity with AI.
Love that you're keeping a finger on the pulse of what's relevant and useful now and what isn't. So let me go in this direction now. 50% adoption is hugely impressive, but what's in the way for the other half? What tactics are you trying on that front? It's not prompt libraries. What is it?
Not prompt libraries, no. So I think it really is a question of maturing adoption, because
Mhm.
you first cast the wide net and you kind of, catch what you can and get the adoption that happens organically through those initial interventions. And it's also, Maxwell, as you said, keeping a pulse on feedback and also watching those adoption rates, usage trends, right? Because they're so insightful. So at this point, it's less about what hasn't worked, it's what haven't we tapped into yet. So that's our maturing of adoption. And it looks different now for different roles. So for example, for content generating roles such as legal, HR, marketing, product owners, project managers, the opportunity is to go beyond the basic AI tasks, like help me draft an email. It becomes more of sophisticated work, like synthesizing complex information, generating insights, supporting decision making. It's kind of like a crawl, walk, run approach. So we got them to walk. Now we are helping them to run by helping them embed AI in a more sophisticated way into their day-to-day. And then there are transaction heavy roles. So for those roles like operations, customer service, the value comes from embedding AI directly into their tools. So it's not about going into a tool on the side, it's the actual workflow that they're in. And the challenge that a lot of organizations are facing is that these transactional roles, sometimes they have access or toggle between multiple platforms and screens. AI can simplify that. So it can synthesize information from multiple systems. It can provide real-time insights, suggestions, guidance, ideas. So those are the types of opportunities that exist there, but they have to be directly in the workflow.
I just think it's incredible to what degree you embody the high-low approach. You are literally puppeteer, looking over the whole system, but also you're so close to the ground. So amazing. Let's start there. And the question this is going to lead into is, so what about your job? Half the people on this call have your job or want your job. So let's talk about making adoption someone's job. How do you convince the organization that this job should exist in the first place?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because this role is absolutely crucial, in my opinion. And yet it's still in an emerging state in a lot of organizations. I do believe I have the best job in the world, and I love it. So for us, at Manulife, AI is not just a set of models and tools, it's a business lever. And just like anything important, it needs ownership. And that's where this conversation about somebody's job comes in. So what we showed early on with the emergence of generative AI, the tools were available to colleagues, but not a lot of adoption was happening organically. It was a very, very, very low adoption. So the adoption lead was able to show that we can accelerate usage, we can make adoption stick, we can build awareness and understanding, we can measure employee sentiment, we can gather their questions, concerns, what excites them, and then we can drive measurable impact from there. And once we had the early wins, then the value became kind of undeniable. So it became from a side of the desk task as like a strategic enabler.
Fantastic take. Let's maybe let's do an exercise. Let's write a one-line job description for a job like AI adoption lead. What would that be, in your opinion, and what kind of person would thrive in this kind of role?
That's a great question. So I would say drive what's possible with AI by building trust, shifting mindsets, and enabling behavior change at scale. So as you notice, there's very little about technology in that one-liner. It's all about figuring out what makes people tick, how to tap into that natural curiosity, how to build momentum, how to create the experiences for people that create those aha moments and build the momentum, and also how to make it real for them. I think that's the most important thing.
And then have the tech guys report into you, right? Like Robin said earlier. Well, actually, maybe can we double click here if we were allowed to go in this direction? Who reports to you? Who do you talk to on a daily basis? What kind of things do you hear?
Sure. So I have a squad that I work with. We work in modern ways of working, quite agile. And on my team, directly reporting to me, I have directors and managers that are also very like-minded adoption colleagues. So they do wake up every day thinking about what's on our colleagues' minds, what's standing in the way of them adopting the tools and using the tools, kind of getting the feedback, and then designing these interventions, that we call them interventions, to help remove the barriers. And then a part of our squad, which I think what makes it really powerful, is learning and development. So we have our global learning team as a dedicated partner on the squad. So as we identify opportunities for additional, so we're moving now from Promptathon to Promptathon 2.0, right? Because there was some feedback that we got and an opportunity that we identified. Well, now we need learning professionals to help us develop an amazing program that will be enticing, that will be valuable, that will create the impact that we're looking for. So learning and development is definitely a part of that journey, as well as global communications. Global
Wow.
communications are those storytellers, right? They also help us deploy our surveys, our stories, our anything that is like our videos that we create for colleagues. So they own those channels, and they're able to consult with us on what would be the most effective way to land the message that we're trying to land. And they are an incredible part of that journey, as well as our data scientists. Obviously, we partner with them as well, product owners for the productivity tool. So it's quite a robust cross-functional squad that I'm a part of, that is kind of looking at it from different perspectives. We're also evolving the squad into dialing up culture presence, change enablement presence, workforce transformation. So all of those other capabilities that were present, but not necessarily something that we amplified in the beginning, we're now ready to do so. So we're starting to expand the squad based on where we are in the journey.
Oh yeah, it sounds like Manulife is just blessed with culture. Like everyone's in, everyone's down, everyone's let's go. So what if there are folks on this call, I venture, I guess there are, where in their company's culture isn't a tailwind? What do you do where you have to build momentum from zero?
Yeah. Changing culture can be hard and slow because you're tapping into people's behavior, mindset, and values. So that usually takes a lot of time to overhaul. But the good news is that you can start small. So, for example, if you have one area in the business where AI seems to be a good fit and they're ready to experiment with AI, that could be kind of a pocket in the organization where curiosity is now expected and learnings are rewarded. So it's almost like an incubator with the cultural attributes that you're looking for. And then when the solution that they're building succeeds and they start seeing the value from AI, when we tell that success story, making curiosity and learning the hero of that story, so that you can show that it wasn't just only the AI model or the tool that created the value, it was the mindset that made the difference. And that's the beginning of that culture shift. And also evaluate your existing culture. That's what I started with when I first came into this role, is look at our culture, how it's supposed to be, what I'm hearing from people, what I'm seeing and observing, and looking at it from which traits or values can we leverage to support AI experimentation and scaling. So I was looking for things like growth mindset, value in learning even without immediate business results, progress over perfection, rewarding intelligent failure, getting started by getting started. So those kinds of mindsets and behaviors. And then I'll share a really quick example. So when we first started broadly rolling out generative AI at Manulife for years, our cultural motto was easier, better, faster. And that mindset was like a perfect fit for AI because people were already looking for ways to simplify, improve, make something easier, better, faster. So AI became a natural part of that journey. And I bet you every organization out there has something like that that they can tap into and maybe show a different facet of that. So even if those traits are not necessarily dominant today in your organization, you can still find the cultural threads that are already there and pull on them with intentionality, and I guarantee it will get you some momentum.
I love that what you're saying is echoing that your biggest advocates are going to come from within. They know your culture, they know your organization's story. Certainly, you did know Manulife's story, and it has blossomed into a beautiful thing. So, I'm going to ask you for three pieces of advice for everyone on the call here. And let's break it down this way. One piece of advice for ICs, one for mid-level management, and one for leadership. What would you say to them with all your experience behind your back?
So I would say for the top leaders, culture is your most under-leveraged AI strategy. You don't need to overhaul it. You just need to amplify parts of it. And that's what executive leaders can do. And that's where it starts. So that's one. For mid-level leaders, I would say relevance beats readiness. You will never be ready. It's kind of like a trap. A trap. Don't wait. Even small progress, small experimentation, you never know where it leads to. So real unlock, start with something immediately useful to your team. Don't look for that shiny, big use case. Anything that is embedded into the real work, real workflow is value. And then also for everybody else in the organization, experiment and hone in on your human skills, because I think there is a lot of fear out there. Let's just call the elephant in the room that AI might take people's jobs. Well, the reality is it can't. There are human skills and attributes that AI will never be able to replicate. So dialing up your expertise with AI in whatever upskilling ways are available, and at the same time starting to discern what are some human traits that I already have that I maybe need to hone in so that I become the best human, and using these AI tools to do a great job.
Fantastic takes. I am so sad that our time together is over, Olya. It's been such a pleasure. The chat agrees. Relevance beats readiness, everyone. If you're looking for something to write down in your strategy planner, that's the one. Olya, thank you.
Thank you for having me.